So before I get into my story, I just want to let everyone know that this is a story from my past, and in the past I was a pretty crazy guy, so please don't do anything just because you saw it in a YouTube video. This story has been done purely for your own entertainment. Take everything I say with a grain of salt because you have to realize that this entire experience that I'm about to tell you took place on a very high dose of DMT and on one tab of LSD. Anyway, let's get on with this. So I was at my friend's penthouse while I was living in New Zealand. There was about 6 or 7 of us over at his house, and we were all dropping acid that night. Dropping acid wasn't my main goal for being there. My goal for being there was I wanted to get over my fear of DMT. I had a series of terrifying DMT trips, which just scared me to my core, and it made me feel like I wasn't able to face what DMT had to show me. It made me feel so scared that even just thinking about DMT created intense anxiety in me. And I really don't like being scared. When something really scares me, I have the attitude that you face it, and the only way to get over it is to face it head on. So the LSD that we had was extremely weak. I hardly felt anything, so that's not really a big part of the story, but there was some LSD present. So I was talking to my friend at his house, and I was asking him if he was going to partake in smoking DMT with me. And he himself was frightened too, because he had an experience which he felt was like, he said it felt like there was a presence in the room possessing him. Now, I think he's a little religious, so that definitely plays into him talking about devil possession and all that kind of shit, which I'm not really vibing with. I was in the middle of conversing with him, and he's like, man, you probably shouldn't smoke it. If you're scared, you shouldn't smoke it. And I was like, no, because I'm scared, that's why I need to smoke it. So initially I was thinking that I would do my best to let go and just to not hold on to reality, and that's the common advice that I even give people, is just let go and observe the experience and don't try to hold on. But I had the bright idea that since I was terrified, the only way to really face the fear head on was to challenge it. So I figured, why don't I smoke it and then see what the worst possible thing that could happen is. And the worst thing that can happen is you have a bad trip. So I decided to induce a really scary trip on purpose just to see if I could make it through it. So my goal was to not let go. My goal was to hold on with every iota of my being and to keep conscious and to stand and to break every smoking DMT rule there is. So I instantly left after I said that. I weighed out about 60 milligrams of DMT. I loaded it up into the machine pipe, and I walked over to where the elevators are, because, it's a penthouse, so the elevators lead right into his house. It feels pretty impersonal. And there was a mirror right there beside the elevators with a little, like a table in front of it with, a flower vase. So I went from the mirror, I took a deep breath, I lit the pipe, inhaled, held for about 15 seconds, exhaled, and before I gave myself even time to consider it or to talk myself out of it, I took the next huge hit. So I consumed about the whole 60 milligrams in 2 big hits. Now, as soon as I exhaled, I heard this intense carrier wave ringing in my ears that just started going, and my vision was shaking incredibly fast. And I decided that since I was in front of a mirror, I was going to literally face my fear head on. And since I was afraid of, my own mind, I was afraid of what my mind would create. So I was afraid of myself. I thought the best way to face this fear was to do it while watching myself in the mirror and looking my reflection in the eyes the entire time and not letting go. So as it's coming on, I'm hearing the ringing. I feel my body start to get paralyzed because a high DMT dose will completely knock you unconscious. So I threw my hands down on the mirror just to prop my body up. So I was barely up, and I'm watching my reflection in the mirror, and the ringing got louder and louder, and I feel it forcing my eyelids shut, and I'm using every bit of energy I have to keep my eyes open. And so I remember I hit this it was like a plateau where I felt like there was no possible way that I could keep my eyes open any longer, and somehow I made it through that, and then my eyes felt like they were jammed open, like I beat the urge to close my eyes. And what happened next still has me shaking. Like, even telling the story, I'm getting nervous, because it's just remarkable what happened. Usually people don't remember DMT experiences, and since I was conscious the whole time, I remember every last part of this experience. So I'm watching my reflection in the mirror, and all of a sudden my face changes into a more attractive version of me. I looked like I had really tan skin, and every part of my face looked really symmetrical, like my twisted, broken nose from being, too many fights as a kid, twisted out, and I looked great. I remember thinking, wow, I look like I've got an attractive twin. And then before long, my face started to wiggle around the edges, and then it started to shrink. So keep in mind, I'm looking at my own reflection, and I'm aware that it's my reflection. The reflection of the rest of the room stayed the same. Like, I could still see the elevators in part of the mirror. Everything else was there. The only thing that was changing was my face. And it starts shrinking, and it turns into this gray silverish color, and it keeps wiggling like it's getting tugged on the edges, and it shrinks into a little ball. My head was a ball, and the ball is spinning around, and it looks like it's getting ripped apart on all the edges. And again, I know I'm looking in a mirror. At this point, my jaw drops. I'm just like, my head has become a ball of clay. And then all of a sudden, this geometric face explodes out of the ball, like a chin forms, and then the forehead pops out. And I kid you not, it looked exactly like PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 2 graphics. I could see the polygons in it. It looked like a CGI face before they apply the texture map. And before they apply any smooth shading, like if you understand computer graphics talk. That's what it looked like. And I was just thinking, holy shit, I'm in a goddamn video game. And before I could process any more thoughts, the face, it almost smiled at me. Like, I don't know if I was interpreting it as smiling or if it was my own reflection, but it looked like this digital face smiles at me, and then it goes boom, and it starts shifting really fast through 1,000 faces, like old people, young people, children, women, fat people, skinny people, and it's going like again, a character select screen in a video game, like you're choosing your fighter in Street Fighter, right? And the little face changes as you go to the next fighter, and it's just shifting too fast for me to focus on any one face. And then it starts shifting through animals, lions, tigers, alligators, and again, this is my reflection. It's got my shoulders, and it's my body with this head of like a lion at one point, and it just keeps shifting, and then it changes back to a human, and it looks like my chin starts getting like stretched out. It's like jiggling. It looks like me again, and then it starts jiggling until my chin drops, and I've got this huge double chin, and I look like this huge fat guy. And I kept thinking, is this actually me I'm seeing, or am I getting like a reflection of like another me? Like maybe in a different alternate reality, I'm a fat guy, and this is what I look like when I look in the mirror. So I'm seeing a reflection of another version of myself. Or, maybe I'm just tripping out on the drug. Who knows, right? But these are what's going through my head. These are the thoughts that are going through my head. And then before I can process this, it turns back into my normal face, the more attractive me. and then this face smiles at me. And what happened next is the most remarkable part of this story that I wish I could make sense of, and that I'm going to get a lot of hisses for. My jaw dropped, okay, it went like this, in the reflection, and all of these sharp teeth sprouted out of my gums, like I'm talking like sharp, jagged teeth, and it my face looked like this, if I can like recreate it. And all of a sudden these scales started exploding out of my face, my skin literally turned green. And what was looking back at me was, I kid you not, a fucking reptile. I don't know if it looked like a snake face or the traditional reptilian alien face. I mean, often people smoke DMT and they claim that they had contact with reptilian beings or insect beings or elf beings, but seeing reptilians is very common on DMT. I'm not trying to propagate any David Icke ideas here, but I'm saying I literally, whatever it means to you, I don't know, but I literally saw my reflection as a reptile. Does this mean that I'm a reptile? Well, maybe I am the reptilian overlord. Who knows, right? But that's what I looked like. And I stayed like this propped on the mirror staring at this reptile face for a good few seconds. Like, after all the transformations, it decided, whatever the it or the reflection was, it decided to stay a reptile permanently. And I remember looking at it, and I had this wave come over me, and I was just like, I felt like everything made sense all of a sudden. Like a lot of people say when they smoke DMT, they felt like they went home. I got that vibe, but it was like I just understood. I remember thinking, Oh, yeah, that makes so much sense, right? Makes so much sense. I'm a fucking reptile in my reflection. I just nodded. And at this point, I decided, like, I mentally allowed myself to let go. My legs gave out. I was still holding the pipe in, like, one hand propped here, and I dropped the pipe. I remember hearing it smack, and I thought for a brief moment that it had shattered, because, like, I was still very much in this reality. It was like I was in both realities at the exact same time. And my legs gave out, dropped the pipe, and I collapsed. I was like, I was fucking out. And at this point, I found out afterwards, my friend said that he heard the pipe drop and he ran over. And he was tripping on acid at this time. And he sees me on the ground, like, you know, like, and he immediately thought that I had killed myself. And he started crying. Oh, poor guy. He started crying. He's a sweetheart. Anyway, what I was experiencing at that time was I felt like I couldn't breathe. Like, I was dying. I was convinced that I was dying, which is common with the DMT breakthrough. And I had this voice that just said, you know, just let go. Stop holding on. You can let go now. You've got the answers you wanted. You saw the truth to reality in the mirror. You now know you can release everything. So I tried to let go, you know, to break through on the DMT, but I think the trip was nearing its end at this point because I felt like I was stuck in a blood vessel in my own brain. Like I felt like I was the little blood, you know, like in the Magic School Bus when they go inside, what was his name? Arnold's head? Yeah, Arnold. And they're in his bloodstream. That's what everything looked like. And I was like stuck in this blood vessel and I just wanted to burst out of it. So I was laying there feeling like I was trapped, couldn't breathe, thought I was suffocating. I let go, and now I'm in this blood vessel. And then a voice says to me, why don't you just stand up? So I instantly just like I was resurrected, like, you know, from the death. I was like, whoa! And I popped up, and I immediately started laughing like a fucking lunatic. Like full maniac laughter going on. I ran out to the rest of them, who were all doing some weird acid shit. I don't know what they were doing. And my friend that was crying was with his girlfriend like this, like looking all concerned. He said after that he was too afraid to go over and check if I was alive because he was convinced that I had died. This guy's always thinking people die on acid. This is another story about him thinking someone died. And he actually called, I don't want to get into this story. Another story for another day. And I went over to him and he's like, bro, so did you find what you were looking for? And oh my God, you want to hear me laugh even harder? I was like, and yeah, I continued to laugh and I looked at him. I was like, found what I was looking for. At that moment, I thought I had the answers to reality, that I was a reptilian overlord or some shit. I don't know what I was thinking. I mean, I didn't really think I was a reptilian overlord. Like, what I thought was that this was all a simulation and I just had visual proof that I was in a game. And it felt like the DMT pulled my consciousness out of this body and somehow accessed alternate parallel dimensions, and it was showing me other me's. And if that's the case, then that means I'm a lion, I'm a tiger, I'm an alligator, I'm a baby, I'm a woman, I'm a huge fat Buddha guy, and I'm a reptile. That means that I've got a whole ton of other selves. So if I die here, does it really matter? I'll just probably continue on as something else. I mean, these are some pretty crazy philosophies, but it's one hell of a trip. It is one wild ride. I don't know if anyone has ever had an experience where they forced themselves to stay consciously in this world. Usually DMT knocks you unconscious and takes you to another world. DMT is one crazy, crazy molecule. That's all I can say. The most fascinating thing about DMT is it has been proven to be found in the brains of rats. It's also been found in the human melanoma cell line, and it's apparent in thousands of different plants and even animals, like in amounts that you can extract. So DMT is everywhere. DMT is not just some drug. DMT is a neurotransmitter. It is so fascinating that a neurotransmitter can evoke such remarkable experiences. And most people watching this are probably going to think I'm crazy. But again, it was a drug experience. That is what smoking it did to me. That's what I experienced. And I don't know if I said this already, but it wasn't like I was interpreting this. Like, I was full on watching it, as if right now you're watching me and I all of a sudden turn into an alien and you're like, oh my God, that motherfucker just turned into an alien. That's what it looked like was happening to me in my own reflection. Like, just, crazy. It's crazy. I really, if all of you reptilian overlords are watching, please don't be offended by this video. I mean you no harm, none at all. So, yeah, all you Illuminatis, please just continue what you're doing and pretend you didn't see this at all. And yeah, I definitely just made that whole thing up. It was all a lie. So yeah, this just never happened. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed this trip report, please let me know in the comments below what substance you would like to hear me talk about next. I have an extensive history of destroying my brain with drugs, so yeah, let me know what you would like to see, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel for weekly drug-related content. I'm a little crazy in this video, and that's probably because I'm wearing this hat, and this hat makes me feel like a fucking dork. Mind you, I like being a dork. I'm also wearing this Christmassy skull and crossbones sweater. I really need to start dressing for my age. Anyway, take care, everybody.